Hello and welcome. Clive May here. As I was talking in the last video about using the idea of converting your thought processes into a ongoing jukebox, part of the information you can actually get is how you actually feel about the world around you from this exercise. So, for example, how you feel about people or situations. By listening to what music you're actually playing inside, what songs, then you know how it is you feel about the situation you're in, rather than this conscious chuntering that just gives you its idea of its impressions. So it's a very valuable exercise. Another exercise I'd like to recommend is one where you begin to lose a lot of your reliance on this conscious internal dialogue. And again, whether this internal dialogue is consciousness itself, whether it's ego, whether what the label is, it's a great obstruction to you living in reality, and that is the significance of it. What the label is doesn't really matter. This is about getting to understand you, the internal events that are actually occurring, and also to be able to experience reality in the now rather than disappearing into the past and the future. So the second exercise I recommend is one where you go into a mode of sensory overload. So for example, when you're walking down the street, you feel your feet against the floor, and the different sensations from the different parts of your foot as it makes contact with the surface of the ground, the feel of your clothes against your skin, the wind passing through your hair or up against your body, the different temperatures of your body, your hands versus your arms. Become aware of all this sensory input, what's coming in through your eyes, the colour of the buildings, the sunlight dappling the trees. Every sensory element, what's coming in your ears, what can you hear, the different sounds. Normally in normal consciousness we tend to push all this information to the back so that we can continue to carry on this internal dialogue, this constant chuntering. Instead, when you actually start to focus on these sounds and sights and sensations and try and hold as many of them in, but just be consciously, constantly aware of them, then it drowns out the internal dialogue. This constant ranting just can't carry on. It's not that you're suppressing it. Never try and suppress the internal dialogue. The idea is to go with the flow. All you're doing is you're letting in more information. If that swamps out the internal dialogue, well, whoops, that's what happens. But don't try and suppress the internal dialogue. If you try and suppress the internal dialogue, if you try to sort of rigidly say, oh, shut up, shut up, shut up, you'll only be able to maintain that state for a few seconds. What we're after is maintaining a state where the internal dialogue is switched off for minutes or even hours. So the sensory method is where, whether you're outside, whether you're inside, you begin to saturate your mind with awareness of all the sensory input that's coming into you. Now what's even more interesting is if you try this as you're walking along the street with a companion and you have a conversation with them. Invariably we try and think and reflect on remarks that we make. If there's no internal dialogue, then we can't do that. So it's a brilliant method for actually learning to have faith in yourself and in your unconscious, in that is normally suppressed and hidden away because of this constant internal dialogue. When you actually saturate your mind with the sensory input and then hold a conversation without thinking about it, just literally respond when you know you need to respond and let the words just flow without thinking about what those words are. When you start moving into that state, then you can actually have faith in yourself and you're in your true nature. And this is the important thing. This is what we're working down towards. Releasing your true nature, moving away from just this tip of the iceberg that's the conscious mind and into the true depths of ourselves. So that what we say and what we do and how we respond to the world is in actual fact a genuine reflection of us and not a reflection of all the influences that have been imposed upon us. We are on the path to freedom. That is the important thing here. This is what you need to keep in mind. You're actually growing and developing and becoming more you, not less. You're becoming more you. And that's what you need to keep foremost in your mind. What we're trying to achieve here is, as I said previously, normally we end up being forced into a situation of actually getting to know ourselves, to turn inward and really examine ourselves and our beliefs and who and what we are. Normally that's some sort of cataclysmic event that happens because of something in the external world. The point behind these exercises and the path that I'm trying to take you down now is that we don't have to go through that cataclysmic result. And normally it's in the later stages of life, say from 40 onwards, that sort of thing happens. You can actually become the real you at a much earlier state. It's the fact that we've lost this knowledge. It's no longer passed down from father to son, from mother to daughter. We have been so indoctrinated by the world around us and all the influences that this true knowledge, this genuine knowledge of maturity has been lost. And it's time for us to take it back. And that is the point of these videos, so that you don't have to go through the cataclysmic crisis in your life, that you can actually begin to gradually open up like a flower, the real, true you, the mature you, the person that has been molded by their experiences, the person who interacts with the world and is not just subject to other people's experiences being imposed on them to actually end up constructing their beliefs. You don't need other people's beliefs. It's good to have them as a marker, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're your beliefs. You can only know they're your beliefs when you start examining yourself. And you can only really start examining yourself when you give the unconscious mind air. You let it breathe. You actually give it a point to interact with the world. And you have to do that via shutting down the conscious mind. And that's why the goal is always to try and not necessarily suppress, because that gives the idea that you're actually using force against it, but to come up with strategies where you can nullify the internal dialogue, the ramblings of the conscious mind, so that you can have this opportunity to experience the world with your greater self, the unconscious mind. And as I say, there's lots of labels for these things, both the conscious and the unconscious, the ego, the id, lots of subdivisions. Labels are not the point or purpose to existence, they're just markers on a road. You can create your own labels. The point is to actually get to the level that you can experience reality directly, and you can experience reality with that greater part of your mind, which is the unconscious mind, or whatever else you want to call it. But this greater part of us that is far, far more than just the conscious ramblings that take place in our psyche.